And we're back. I just hit a rest area. Didn't need to rest. I needed to refill my water containers. And I was in Indiana. The rest area actually looked like a barn. It was kind of cool. And it's kind of hit or miss. Some rest areas have a water fountain and it has the bottle refill. And I'd rather just refill my big containers versus buy, $2 and $3 water. We just reload occasionally, and that's what I was doing, was reloading. Even though they didn't have the fancy schmancy reloadable container, the reloadable fountain that I like. Back on Highway 69, about 100 southbound, about 120 miles out of Indianapolis. I'll be following this. So going to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Getting 21.1 miles per gallon. My friend owns an auto body shop. And I lost my 2 people that were watching. That was quick. My buddy restores classic cars. He builds show cars. Whatnot. And I worked for him for quite a while, and employment got soft, and COVID hit. And when you're in that business long enough, you start acquiring an eye for mechanical things. You start acquiring an eye for cars and auto body work. And I'm back to talking to myself. Cruising. If anybody has a topic of discussion, please bring it up and we'll go from there. Guess not. Somebody can explain to me how I can find the music that I can use on here, that would be helpful via YouTube Studio or some other way. My skills at editing video are bordering on non-existent, so it's how to use authorized video or authorized music for dummies would be helpful, because I literally don't know how to do it. If someone could give me a link or tell me where to go to learn that stuff, because my computer skills are online with my dancing skills, which aren't all that great. Random thought going through my head. My buddy owns an auto body shop. He repairs, restores classic cars and show cars. And he's really good at it. When I was working there, and I don't do the body work, I did everything but that. You start acquiring an eyeball for a body work where you be driving in traffic, glance over and go, oh, it's been repainted, or that car has body work done to it. It's really weird. That skill comes up after a while. And people would go out and buy, I'll just make up a car, a 68 Camaro. It's old and it just run out, and they would bring the car in there and say, I want this restored, which can be an expensive thing if you want it done right, you want it done properly. They always say, how much is it? And then you get a ballpark answer. Well, why is it a ballpark answer? Because you have no idea what you're looking at until you tear the car apart and start getting into it. And you don't know until you physically pull the body, you don't know what's underneath. And sometimes you'll find a car that's been in 14 accidents and the frame has been mangled. And the body doesn't fit straight. And the body has been bent to match the bent frame. Or maybe it has a Ford front end and a Dodge rear end and a Chrysler electrical system, which is something we've run into before. So when you're restoring a classic car, you have to take these things into account. You don't know what's happened to it over the years. And a lot of times somebody will take an old car and pull out the engine and just drop a more powerful motor in there and go, wow, now I've got a fast car. Well, that car wasn't designed to go that fast. It wasn't designed to hold that much weight. So you bolt this big, powerful engine. Is that a cop? That looks like a cop. You bolt this big, powerful engine onto a transmission that wasn't designed to carry that much weight. And now, so you have this mismatch, this much power, and now it's all mismatched. They go, okay. And now you have you've upgraded your transmission. Okay, now you have a powerful engine and a powerful transmission attached to a drivetrain that may or may not be designed to hold that weight. Okay, we'll replace that. Okay, now the differential wasn't designed to do that. Okay, whoops, now the differential can't take the power. So now you redo everything. Now you've got an engine, transmission, differential, and of course you upgraded the suspension to hold the weight, and you had to increase the cooling system to adapt to it, and now your brakes won't stop the vehicle because it's more powerful than the original brakes. You have to redo the brake system, put discs to take off your drums. Okay, and you have a vacuum pump, old school system for your brakes, which aren't powerful enough to operate. So now you have to put in hydraulics, and it's just stuff like that. It's like a whiplash. So if you're going to do it right, you got to remove all that stuff and replace it with modern components, making it what they call pro touring, which is a wonderful way to have your car set up. It's like a new car underneath, and the classic looks outside. What's he doing? There's highway patrols running. There he goes. He's getting off state patrol. Like I said, if anybody has a topic of discussion or a question, please add it on the bottom and I will run with it from there. We are expediting. We are expediting southbound on I-69. We're about 110 miles out of Indianapolis, going towards Bowling Green. Sorry about that. I didn't look around. Oops, slow it down. Not 100% sure where I am right now. I'm just on the road. Oh, no, that's a road. Never mind. I don't know where I am. Well, it's windy today. I am in Indiana. I know that. Yeah, that's how my cool this is. Expediting here back when I first tried this, and I got into Iowa, and I ended up getting stuck in Iowa, and I was bouncing all over the state for John Deere, my van, just delivering little packages between all these different plants. And at some point you got to ask yourself, why doesn't John Deere just get their own pickup truck or their own van and just do it themselves if they've got that much stuff to move? But I don't know if they ever did. It just didn't make sense to me, that's all. Okay, I have nothing screaming on the screen. No topic of discussion. Somebody give us something to talk about or ask a question. And I still need someone to explain to me how to use music on here. Apparently, YouTube gets their panties in a wad if you use music you quote unquote don't have permission to use. And I Googled it and it said, oh, you go into the studio, look for, what do you want to call authorized music? Well, I'm in there and I can't find it. I don't know how to figure out what it is and how to get at it. I got, oh, there's a question. Aha, it says, how many miles a day are you a teen? No, not a teen. And in a van, it's kind of difficult because it's kind of crowded in here. There's really not a lot. I mean, a husband and wife can do this, but they'd have to be like real friendly. And the bunk space, you're eating up your travel room. Unless you have the biggest van out there, you're really not in a position. Really not in a position to do two people in here. Again, unless it's a husband-wife team, which they exist. I've heard about them. But haven't done them. How many miles a day? That is a moving target. It depends on the load, and the way this job has gone for me is every other week. It's just, you have a busy week, and then you have a slow week. And the shortest delivery I've ever done was like 75 miles, and the longest delivery I've ever done was 2,700 miles. On average, I would say 350 to 450 is about the normal delivery distance. And if it's over 600-700 miles, sometimes they'll split it into 2 days. And the way the company does it is they go, if it's direct, they go, you're here, you're there, and they average 50 miles an hour, and they give you that time to get there. Now, they're not going to do it if it's 1,500 miles, because most people don't drive that far in one fell swoop. But daily, it's hard to say. I have the little fuel computer that tells me when, or the oil computer. I change my oil at just short of 10,000 miles. I change my own because I save money on it, and I went operational with this van on March 1st, so March, April, May, June, through. I put 29,000 miles on this van so far. So, and I work 20 to 22 days a month, so I'm getting quite a bit in. You're getting some seat time, as they say, on this. But right now, I'm doing this with the dead miles and the live miles. I'm doing just a breath over 400 today. This is how many miles a day are you in here? That was the next one. Says, what's Trump up to today? To be honest with you, I don't watch the news. I'm out here working. Sorry, I don't have a clue. I'm not really paying attention. There's a lot of people in this world watching what everybody else is doing. I'm kind of focused on what I'm doing. But I don't know. But when you get into this job, there's no forced dispatch. They don't call you and say, you have to do this load. They offer it to you. And some people accept it and some people don't. There are drivers out here that are older, and they'll say in there, you have like an account with the company, they have notes. And their notes will say nothing over 300 miles. Or they only want to drive in these 3 or 4 states, for instance. Or they don't want to go to a specific state. They just say, don't send me there under any circumstances. For whatever reason. They got warrants, I don't know. But that's something that people do. But the problem is that limits how much driving you're going to do. If you kind of pigeonhole yourself, you're not going to get out here and drive nearly as much. I'm pretty much wide open for where I'll go. But I do tell them constantly, when I'm up here in the Northeast, give me a California run or give me a Texas run. I like the long drives. You get way out west, it's a little bit wishy-washy getting out of there, but you make so much money getting out there that it pays for the whole week, and then it's somewhat in the next week. That's why I do it. That Niagara Falls to Los Angeles was the longest run I've done, and the most enjoyable and the most profitable per mile run I've done, period. And I just missed out on one yesterday, Salt Lake City. Again, getting out of Salt Lake, problematic. But it would have paid so much to get there, it would have been awesome. Somebody give a topic. I love history. Talk expediting. Oh, you're in Niagara? Okay, there was the place I picked up on was a plant that made, I don't remember the name, but you go to so many places and deal with so many businesses, your brain just flushes it. It was on the water, the business I picked up from, a tall metal tan building, and they made carbon rings. Carbon as in black, carbon gaskets. And they had these giant blocks outside. If you think of these temporary concrete barriers they put up in construction sites, they looked like that, but they were black. They looked like charcoal, but they were real dense. Again, I don't know what they're used for, but the factory, which the ground was black, the inside of the building was black, it was like dust, real thick black dust on everything. They're right up against the water, and they're like gasket rings for something, and why they make those, I don't know, but it seems like they were delicate, which is why they use an expedite van and not regular shipping, because they didn't want to get banged around too much. But that's what I got out of there, and the load I missed yesterday was probably the same company. And I think it has something to do with pipelines. I think. But it was a pallet, the load on the pallet was like 5 inches tall. But it was a 48 by 40 pallet. But yeah, like I said, that business was right on the water, facing Canada proper. I haven't set foot in Canada since 1978. We crossed over at Niagara Falls there. Drop there for just a second. And for gas purposes in this van, I go 62. Exactly. And I got a nasty crosswind, but I'm showing 21.2 miles per gallon average right now. Sunny out here. Okay, I got a trivia question for you. World War II, my favorite topic. Here you go. What countries did the Germans and Adolf Hitler declare war against? Anybody know? See if anybody wants to pop up with an answer. List all the countries the Germans declared war against. I'll see if anybody knows this one. Nothing on the stream here. Alright, the question was, what countries did the Germans declare war against? Okay, we got France and England. Poland. Alright, that would be wrong. They went to war with France, England, and Poland. They did not actually declare war against any of them. Aha, keep going. Let's see, Finland, Russia, and I think it was Spain, Belgium, Luxembourg. I'm sitting here scanning the map with my brain. Greece, Crete. I'll skip to the end. The only country that Germany and Adolf Hitler formally declared war against was the United States. And it was a massive mistake by them doing that. The United States was looking at Germany, looking at Europe, watching things unfold, and while we were facing the East, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, the American public spun 180 degrees to address that situation. And we would have probably cut down on our support of the European war noticeably at that point, because we had our own problems. And then that was December 7th, and on the 10th or the 11th of December, Hitler decided to declare war on the United States. And even his command staff went, "Are you stupid?" So now our attention is split, but he has our attention. The Japanese didn't warn the Germans they were doing it. They were going to launch the attack. They just did it, even though they were part of the Axis powers, the tri-powers of the Axis, the Germans, the Japanese, and the Italians. But that was the United States is literally the only country they declared war against. They went to war with everybody. They just didn't declare it. Whoa, here we go. Merging traffic. And we're good. Hoo-ah. Anthony Mark. Hey, I got a question for you. There seems to be a rift going on between the governments of Canada and the United States. What's the mindset from your side? I mean, I've never met a Canadian I didn't like. Never. And I don't see why there's a pissing contest going on between two countries that are this closely aligned and, let's face it, this close together, sharing the longest border in the world between any two countries. I'm just curious what the mindset is on the Canadian side of what's going on, and have things calmed down any. It is 12:45 local, and I'm starting to think about food. Decisions. Another problem with being on the road like this is you eat what my cousin calls bar food. It's basically garbage, so you have to sometimes get off the beaten path to find real food. Don't you do it. You're lucky. I called my mother if you came over one more lane. Oh, talking out your ass, are you? Those of you interested in expediting, there's essentially two ways to do this job. You can be an owner-operator, it's your van, or you can be a fleet driver, which means you're driving somebody else's van. If you're not sure if this is something you want to get into, become a fleet driver, because you can get in and get right back out. And as I understand it, when I went through training at, orientation at the company I'm with, there were 5 of us, I think, go through the class. They just show you how to do the paperwork and how to operate the apps and all that stuff. There were, of the 5 of us, 4 of them were fleet drivers, and I was the only owner-operator. As an owner-operator, I own the van, period. It's mine. I'm responsible for the gas and the maintenance and the wear and tear. And when you're out here driving commercially, to do expediting, which is a van under 10,000 pounds total, you don't have to have a CDL. You don't have a kind of special licensing, which has the advantages of, well, you don't have to get a CDL. You don't have to follow the driving rules of big trucks where you get, 11 hours of road time and you got to take a half an hour break and all this other stuff. And I'm completely and utterly ignored by DOT. I don't go to weigh stations. They don't mess with the vans. We're just invisible to them, which helps. But it's my van, my gas, my wear and tear, and whatnot. And as a commercial vehicle, and this drives me batty, you have to have two separate commercial policies on your vehicle. One is loaded and one is empty. It's called trucking and non-trucking. The company requires me to pay for the non-trucking when I'm empty. And the company I work through, that I operate under their motor carrier, their MC number, they pay for the trucking. And the theory behind that is their logos are on the van. And if I get in an accident or I run somebody over, kill grandma or whatever, they're not going to sue me. They're going to sue the big company. So what happens is I operate underneath their umbrella. They pay for the insurance and they do the dispatching. They find the loads. And I've only watched dispatchers in action one time. And it's a guy sitting in what looks like a gamer's paradise. He's in a room and he's got 6 computer screens. And he's clicking and pushing buttons watching all this. And what happens is this vehicle that I have is on his board. It has my name, my availability, the dimensions of my cargo area and payload. So the computer will say, yes, you can take this load, no, you can't. And there's any restrictions about what I can and can't do. Do I have a pet? Some people, you can't carry animals. I don't carry any animals on. And certain loads they have to bid on, and they know what the prices are. And some loads our company just gets automatically because they're big enough and they've been around, they're the preferred carrier. So they'll bid the load out and then call me and say, hey, I got this, do you want it? Or they'll call me and say, hey, I got it, I've got an oddball, do you want me to bid on it? You know how much money we're talking about, and they take a percentage of the load. So it's, if I'm not carrying cargo, I'm not making money. If I'm not carrying cargo, they're not making money. So they are incentivized to keep the van full. And there are people that operate out here on their own, dispatching their own loads, which I guess you can do, but I don't know how you do it driving down the road. Unless you know somebody. And they keep all the money and all the percentages, which is fine. But then again, you're also paying the trucking insurance, which to my knowledge is not cheap. It's, I'm going to say, $1,200 a month. I pay, my non-trucking rate on this van is $224 a month. So it's quite high. This van wasn't new and I had a trade-in on it, so my payment is actually $300. So I have a $300 van note and a $224 insurance payment, and that's my expenses to run this thing, plus gas. But again, owner-operator. Now, as a fleet driver, you are driving somebody else's vehicle. And that's real common. And a lot of these fleet owners will own a half a dozen vans, and they keep them insured, and they keep them maintained and whatnot. And as I understand it, the driver of the van doesn't pay for oil changes, doesn't pay for tires, doesn't pay for maintenance, doesn't pay for insurance, but he pays his own gas, which would incentivize them not to drive 90 miles an hour because these are aerodynamic brakes. So you pay for your own gas plus your cost of food and stuff on the road, but they split the money they're making off of it, and the numbers float around, but it's 65-35, 65-35 or 70-30 or something like that. On a 70-30 split, the owner of the van gets 30% and the driver gets 70%. It's something like that. So technically, a fleet driver is making less money per mile to drive, but then again, it's not their van and they can get in and out of the business if you don't like it, or if you don't have the money to buy your own van and get set up. So 6 one way, half dozen the other. I think there is somewhat of a turnover in this business, but again, it's easy to get into. Anybody can do it. It's just, can you handle handle the lifestyle of being out here on the road, not unlike a truck driver. And the advantage of this over truck driving, again, the regulations aren't there. You can always find parking, which big trucks cannot, and I can take this to the grocery store. I can take it to a hotel. If you're sitting there empty, it's annoying, but it's not catastrophic. In a big truck, with the cost of your insurance and your truck payment and your maintenance, it's just, yeah, the bills are a lot higher. This is more or less like driving a car. It's just the cost of operation. Oh, and my fuel mileage. What am I getting? 21.1, because this crosswind is kind of throwing me off. 21.1 miles per hour. What's a truck get? 5? Just operational cost of running it. Look right there, passing us. That's a former Amazon van Expeditor with no logos on it, which means he's probably an independent, because Amazon ran their vans to 90-something thousand miles and sold them. The problem is the vans are beat to death, because think about what an Amazon van does. It's stop and go all day long. It's not like what we're doing here. That stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. Is wears the vehicle out, and they put 95,000 miles on it to sell it, so it's burnt up. This is okay. Driving is the easiest part and best part of the day. Oh, I completely agree with you. Again, the advantage of driving an Expedite vehicle versus a truck is when you go to a yard, you can have 10 trucks waiting in line to use 2, 3, or maybe 5 ramps or docks they back the truck up to. You're waiting in line, and it takes a while to load and or unload the truck. And if your forklift operator is Zippy, the world's fastest forklift driver, you're going to be there a while. When you drive a van, it's 1 pallet, maybe 2, and you pull in and you go, hey, I'm an Expediter, and they're like, I can load you with 1 motion and get you out of here, and I don't have to think about you ever again, and you don't need a dock, you need a ramp, and the ramp's open. So in a van, you get in and get out way faster than a truck ever thought about getting in and out. Because they drop the pallet and give you the paperwork. Oh, I know that sound. You run in, they slide the pallet in, they give you the paperwork, I reach in, strap it down, put it in gear, and get out of there. I mean, it's pretty fast. Says, oh yeah, it's so clutch to scoot up to the van. Well, yeah. Like I said, I've been within lines of trucks. I just go by them because I'm not interfering with what they're doing. I'm not using their parking. I'm not using their dock, so they don't care. If you're in a big truck and you go around all the other trucks, yeah, they may get a case of the ass. I delivered a load back during COVID when the chip shortage was going on. I delivered, there was a plant in Marshall, Indiana that I went into, and there were 3 or 4 vans outside, and they were running 24 hours a day making those little computer chips. And they were I sat there and watched them make them, and they were loading up pallets as fast as they can. As soon as the pallet was full, they'd throw it on a vehicle and say go, and I drove direct to the Dallas-Fort Worth area to a plant. And there were a line of trucks coming in, and again, I drove by, got up to the gate, I opened my window, and the guy says, do you have the chips? And I said, well, yeah. Like, how did you know? And he goes, going over to ramp 1 at the end of the line. And I think the load was due at 10, and I got there at like 7 in the morning. Which, if you get there early, just see if they want it now. I mean, obviously they want it, so if you get it early, all the power to you. And I pulled up, backed up to the dock, and I didn't even have the door open, and a forklift was coming down the ramp. I went, oh, that was quick. And I jump out, and I unstrap everything. And I said, wow, you guys are working quick. And he said, The whole factory is getting ready to shut down right now. 40 minutes from shutting the factory down because there's nothing else we can do at this point without these chips. So that's how close run it was. They needed them. That's why they use these vehicles. Okay. They're starting to put cameras in construction zones, so you need to watch your speed. Yeah, it depends on, I see, about your driving record. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Depends on what you got on your driving record. You can get into this as long as you didn't do something super stupid. This is something that cracks me up. I am a Cannonball Run record holder, and I've never had a speeding ticket in my entire life, which makes no sense. It is a good job. I enjoy this. It's relaxing, but a couple things bad is you're away from home. Your sleep's a little wishy-washy. I got a bunk back here, but your sleep can be inconsistent. And the biggest drawback is you have to think about what you're eating and how much you're moving, because all you're doing is sitting all day. And if you look at truck drivers, let's just say they ain't the skinniest people you've ever seen. And I mean like frighteningly heavy sometimes. So you have to be conscious of how much moving you're doing or not doing. And I get out and put on my booty hat and I go walk around a lot. I have a membership to Planet Fitness. They have showers. And they have treadmills and weights and stuff. And I was in there one the other day, 2 days ago. And just go in there and move around. You can't just sit here and eat. This is going to kill you. When I get up here and drop this off, it's showing up before 5 o'clock. When I get there, I'm going to go find a place to park, and I'm going to go walking around. My wife and I save aluminum religiously, and I go collect aluminum and crush it and put it in little bags and stuff. It gives me an excuse to walk around. But yeah, you just can't sit all day. This isn't healthy. It is a sweet gig. It's not complicated. It's not really stressful. And if you like podcasts, you like to listen to audiobooks and stuff, this is the way to do it. The speed limit through here is 70, and I'm going 62. My cruise speed. Like you're not like dodging speeding tickets or anything. Again, I don't know what your driving record is, but there are fleet owners looking for drivers, for this type of job. And as long as you have a basic driver's license, you can do it. Yeah, you listen to podcasts too. I'm into audiobooks because they're really long. Some podcasts are fun. I actually did a podcast. It was a Cannonball podcast back in 22. It was a 90-minute one. It was on a, what's it called? Switch cars. And he has Switchcasts or Switch cars. And my wife and I went and did that. That was kind of fun. Video and audio record. I didn't know that. Because I was dressed like a hobo when I got there. Yeah, you can do, like I said, they asked that question. When I went through in processing, I went through the little, I guess they run your license. I don't know what they were looking for. I ain't got anything on mine, but they do a drug test, which I don't drink alcohol, let alone mess with drugs, so I don't care. But they did the one drug test, and that was March. I haven't done it since, but then again, I'm never by there. But I don't know what is and is not acceptable on your driving record. I honestly don't, because I don't have anything on my driving record. But if you're just going to try this out, if you want to get into it and just give it a whirl, try being a fleet driver. Drive somebody else's van, get out here and see if this is to your liking. Because there's a kid on YouTube, this is a few months ago, a young guy, he's in his early 20s, and he decided he wanted to do expediting. So he and his extended family spent the money. He went out and bought a brand new Mercedes van, one of those super pricey ones. And some people like the Mercedes vans. They're not any more or less reliable than the Ford. It's just when it breaks, and it will, your maintenance cost, because there's an M stamped on it, is going to be 3 times as high. He bought the big 4-pallet capable van. Dropped, I don't know what he had, 70 grand. Got it out. Then got out of here, started driving, started making videos, and 6 weeks later, he's done. Noisemaker. He's done. He's out. He don't want to do it anymore. They didn't, so now what are you going to do? Now you got to sell the van. And how much you're going to lose on it. So, be a fleet driver. Find out if you want to do this, and then go from there. And if you decide you want to be an owner-operator, and this is from personal experience, when I came out here before, I bought a new van. I was working with a buddy of mine. We bought the brand new van and did all that, and I drove the piss out of that thing. But it was the tall, long, extended Ford Transit. In all reality, that extra foot that cost another 20 grand of roof height, I think I used it once. I mean, it's nice to be able to stand up straight. I'm 6'4", but I mean, it was nice to be able to stand up straight. But was it necessary to have all that space for $20,000? Wasn't really worth it to me. So I bought this van, which is a medium roof, and it was used, and it was less than half the price of the new one. So if you're going to buy your own van, there's 2 ways to do it. I call it going in heavy or going in light. If you want to drop that $60,000, $70,000 walking in the door, that's going in heavy. You want to go in light, get a used van. You make the overall get-in cost less. Your payment's less, your insurance is less. It's not as pretty, but nobody cares. This van has enough little scratches and imperfections on it that, I don't really care if it gets a few more. You know what I mean? Don't care. And this van hasn't given me a hiccup's worth of problems. Not a Scotia problems. Here's something weird. Look at this right here. This concrete mixer. You see how this truck is designed? Let me get up here a little bit. Whereas the cab's in the front and the concrete mixer is, for lack of a better word, backwards. I had never seen one of these until I came out to the East Coast. Because everywhere else, that mixer is turned around the other way. That to me is just weird. Okay, now I gotta get by this guy. Okay. Yes, this van will do 98 miles an hour. That's the governor. Guy is driving way too fast. Now he's going to blow past me. Alright, back down to my 62. Yeah, literally, that cement mixer, they pour the cement off the front. They're doing a job. Cement mixers on the other side of the country, it's backwards. All the equipment's on the back, and you pour off the backside. The one big downside of the design that they use out west is when the open part is in the back, if that mixer is full and they accelerate from a dead stop, it'll actually pee some of that out on the ground. And then it dries, and you have a clump of concrete sitting in the middle of middle of the road at a traffic light. That I've seen. Carlos says hi. Hi, Carlos. Yeah, this is starting to turn into a headwind. That's never good. Yeah, all the road signs are laying down, even though they've got sandbags holding them up. Anybody else got a topic, question, a comment, an insult, maybe something sarcastic? I totally dig sarcasm. I married a redhead, so I'm a glutton for abuse. I have a fancy new Garmin GPS I operate, and it says it just popped on the screen that the Pipe Creek rest area is 22 miles ahead, so it that's interesting. Thank you. Well, where are we headed? There's a question. I got a load from Pioneer, Ohio, which is about 50 miles west of Toledo, going to Bowling Green, Kentucky. And I have two big metal baskets in the back that they poured what appears to be motor mounts into them. Probably a few hundred each. One of those, I seem to spend a lot of time at companies that make stamped engine and auto parts. That's a main thing in this part of the world. And we are on 69 southbound, and my next turn is 70 miles away. And I think it's a loop around Indianapolis. Skateboarder box. I'm a Sprinter van. I'm in a Ford Transit 250. Medium roof, extended. Long wheelbase. When I bought this van, I was looking at all the other vehicles that are like this. It has the same front end. And they put like a box truck on it, and it's still under 10,000 pounds. And I asked the question, I'm just sitting there looking at them side by side, and I said, is there any difference in the load/money? And they said no. So you have to look at it and go, aerodynamically speaking, the van is bad, but that's catastrophic. If you're not making any more money and you're carrying the same stuff, why get this big square box? It's going to eat more wind, because my last Ford Transit van was the extended roof, extended length, and it ate a whole bunch of wind. A whole bunch. I was getting like 16, 17 miles per gallon, and even in this headwind, I'm getting 21 out of this right now. So just looking at the operational costs. Just how much does it cost to do this? What's your overhead? That last van I had, the payment was like $900. This is $300. Yeah, I got $300 van payment and a $224 insurance payment, and that's it. And I do my own oil changes, because you're doing one, about once every 4 or 5 weeks. I got to do an oil change, and I run straight synthetic and the old van wouldn't fit into most oil change places. That made it interesting. But what's an oil change cost for one? It's like $110 or something. I do it myself. I have just enough tools to do what I have to do, and I buy. It runs on 520 full synthetic castor oil, and I get it off of Amazon. And I just bought a 5-quart with deliveries, $21, and this holds like 5.5 quarts. And I get the filters on Amazon. Don't use Fram, by the way; they're garbage. Anything but Fram. I use Wix. It's like $10.50. So I'm into this for $32 to do my own oil changes. And I literally buy a $3 oil pan, change the oil, turn the oil in at any auto parts store, and throw the oil pan away because I don't have room to carry it. So I'm into it for $35 for a synthetic oil change versus $110, $120. Nickels and dimes. You're looking for a 26-foot box. You're over 10,000 pounds, I'm guessing. That's CDL. I have a CDLB. I actually tried to get a job driving a garbage truck just to get to me to retirement because they needed a CDLB with the automatic transmission because it's got the little grabber that reaches over and grabs the track hand and whips it over your shoulder. And I said, well, that'd be kind of cool. Get paid. It's a waste management. They said, oh yeah, we're looking for guys. So I go out and I spend the money to get the CDLB, and I come back and there's no openings. So I kept applying at different openings. They would never even talk to me after that. I was like, well, that was kind of rude. So then I got into this. And we're back to this. And again, the downside, you're away from home. The good upside, it doesn't pay bad. And I don't mind doing it. And I'm new at live streaming, and this is just something different. Kind of fun. And when people start throwing questions up there, it makes it kind of fun to read and respond. I still need someone to explain to me how to get to music on here, because I can play music if they'll allow me. I did it the other day, but apparently I wasn't supposed to, because I don't know any better. Oh, you're looking for a box truck. If it's got like the Ford front end with the box, or is this like a totally different vehicle? Because the Dodge version of this van, you might want to drive it first, just to feel the driving position. Like I said, I'm on the tall side, so it's real awkward for me because the steering wheel in this van, this Ford, is like a car. The driving position in general is like driving a car, whereas the Dodge van is like driving a bus. The steering column is more between your legs, and the steering wheel is leaned away from you, and it's like way down low, and I sit really, really high, so the steering wheel is almost out of range to reach. Very awkward sitting position. So before you drive a Dodge, before you drop your money on a Dodge van, make sure you drive it and make sure it fits you. For my height, it's really, really awkward. I'm going to shut down this live stream for now. I may come back on later. I got to pull in here. I think I got to find food. But thanks for all the participants. Like I said, if people have questions here, we'll work on those in the future. Take care.